Sorry. You want to sit at the front? Hey, come here.
You might be.
Let's go.
Sorry. Well, welcome again to Sydney AI and Data Science Meetup Group, which is being hosted by the Actuaries Institute. We're very proud that we have this group meeting here. Actuaries work fairly closely with a lot of data scientists, and there's a lot of, I suppose, synergies in that. The Institute of Actuaries has actually a data science practice committee which focuses on a lot of the new initiatives and how to deal with all the challenges that AI puts up for us and all the data issues that we have to work with. Before I ask Eugene to come to the podium, there's also a scholarship that I've been asked to mention today, and if you know anyone that would suit this, it would be great for their own, I suppose, their own branding. It's only suitable for people who are only 50% of the people, probably not 50% in the room actually, but I'll just read it out. So the Institute is proud to announce that applications for its annual Data Science and AI Scholarship with Chief Executive Women are now open. This scholarship is for women in data science and provides up to $25,000 towards a chosen course of either INSEAD's High Impact Leadership course, Stanford's Executive Program in Leadership, or Said Business School's Women Transforming Leadership Program. If you're eligible or know someone who may be interested, please scan the QR code. Yep, there's a QR code down the back of the room there on the poster and screen located at the back of the room. More details. Don't miss this chance to advance your leadership journey. So I think it's a great opportunity if you know someone who you think would suit that, someone who's a female leader in data science. So I think it's a great opportunity for them. So if you can pass that on to anyone that you can, I suppose, that you think's worthy. And I'll pass on to Eugene.
Thanks, Bill. Welcome all. It's almost a full house. This is great. Very exciting topic here today, which is perhaps no wonder. Before we start with today's speaker, I have a question for you folks. I'm getting a lot of reports that people are not receiving their meetup emails. They're not getting notifications about these events. So of the people in the room, how many of them found out about this event from an email from Meetup? Okay, that's really interesting. So most of you didn't. How many from LinkedIn? And now I'm completely confused. Let's open it to the audience.
Why is everyone else here?
Yeah, why is everyone? How'd you get here?
I was referred by a very good friend. Word of mouth, yeah.
Okay, so let me ask another question. How many of the folks here are actually members of the meetup? Okay, so pretty much. But would it be fair to say that you're just not finding out about the meetup from meetup emails? The emails are not reaching you.
I don't know about those. I scroll meetup. The last thing I need is more emails. I just scroll meetups when I'm in town.
A lot of emails from Meetup.
Why did the name change?
No, this was a problem well before the name change. In fact, look, the numbers are pretty good, despite or perhaps because of. So, thank you all for the useful and rather puzzling feedback. Let's get on with the show, and let me introduce today's speaker, Ahmed Fattah, an enterprise architect at PwC, where he leverages various technologies, which include generative AI, to develop client and internal solutions. And before his current role, he worked with IBM Watson AI and was a lead AI and data science trainer with UTS and the Institute of Data. He holds a master's degree in machine learning from UTS, and he studied cognitive science at UNSW. Over to you, Ahmed.
Thank you very much indeed. Hello, can you hear me well? Okay. Thank you, Eugene. Thank you, Bill. And good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming to this presentation. I hope it will be of value to you. And I look forward to, I'm sure, many difficult questions and interesting discussion at the end of this presentation. So the presentation is the title, Decoding Intelligence, Lesson from Humans and Machines. So without further ado, I want to, there are a lot of very interesting topics here, but I wanted to make it clear to you what I am presenting, and hopefully we can unpack these points systematically. So the first point is that decoding intelligence has been and will continue to be an iterative interchange between cognitive science and AI. The second point is the latest development in large language models, which many people have been thrilled by, excited by, etc. Itself, it re-emphasized the point above, which is this iterative interchange between cognitive science and AI, that in particular is actually raised many questions about emerging theories in cognitive science about how we think. We're actually commenting in the lift coming here about there's a lot of meetups were happening in the past before COVID and then died. Now we're flourishing. But in the past, I couldn't imagine actually a presentation like this about which has a cognitive science and some hints of philosophy, etc. All the meetup used to be very technical. So it's a huge excitement in anyone I talk to. They're curious to say, if ChatGPT can act as a human, what we were thinking. And so there's a lot of curiosity in this area. And this is the second point, is that now with the performance and limitations of large language models, which is coming at us very fast, they align and support many emerging theories in cognitive science that reveals how we think. And I'll share some of these findings with you. The third point is a future-looking point. I'm saying the future of intelligence will be a hybrid collaboration. At the machine level, it's very likely to be multi-agents machines working together. And at the societal level, at the work level, it's a collaboration between humans and AI technology. So we have to get used to how we work collectively with the machine AI. So this is the 3 points, very simple. So let's actually unpack them one by one. I'm giving guidance here, which topic I'm talking about. So this is the first point. In it, really to create machines, we take how our reflection of how we think and use this to create machines, which hopefully to exhibit the same behavior as we humans. So the arrow, which goes here from the left to right, is taking this understanding and creating a machine, which try to exhibit the same theories, if you will. Richard Feynman is a famous physicist and a man of many insights, said that we don't understand anything until we create it. And he's a a bit of truth in this, in a sense that if you think of something, and it could be completely outlandish, doesn't have any connection with reality, but if you can build something which works according to this theory of yours, is a huge confirmation. May not be the only confirmation, but is a very, very strong confirmation that you have the right idea. Okay. So this is the arrow, and I will show some examples of this over the history of AI. But then the arrow going from the right to the left is that once we see this machine performing either intelligently or not, we reflect back to say, maybe our first understanding wasn't correct. So let's actually adjust it. Okay. So this is really sort of going back and forth. Understanding intelligence is really happening in parallel. For thousands of years, humans try in the cognitive science. Obviously, before cognitive science, we had psychology, we had philosophy or mind, etc. So we have long history of trying to understand intelligence. Obviously, building machine intelligence is much more recent, but it actually is not like 75 years now in the modern AI era. This is a very long time, and this is running in parallel. That, as I said, they are interchanging. So the same diagram here, I'm actually expanding it into multiple layers to take examples, and only these few examples, there are many others, of how our understanding of cognitive science, of human intelligence, have fed into creating artificial intelligence. So the first reincarnation of this is that humans, over a long time, from Plato and Aristotle to many philosophers, to psychology, Freud, whatever, views the epitome, the highest level of human is the rational thinking, okay, in logic. So this is really where humans excel. Okay, Aristotle say a man, sorry, like a person, is a rational animal. Okay, that's what differentiates us from animals. Okay, we share many things like bodies and hearts and lungs and many things, but our mind is very different. Okay, therefore, first attempt in AI is to say, well, let's actually take this logic, this in AI technical language, and as I said, on the left here, we can actually talk about mind, the rationality, etc. On the left, that's the cognitive science language. When we take it to the AI, then a corresponding language, so we called it symbolic logic. So that's the first incarnation of AI, to build machines that mimics human rational thinking. Okay. And which is also called rule-based system or expert system. It's trying to extract this, how we think, and embody it in a machine. And there were some success. Well, I'll mention some of them, but the expectation was so high. There actually, if you go in YouTube, you see videos 70 years back, which very respected scientists say within a couple of years we'll have machines that exceed human intelligence, AGI. So they were really very credible people, because that's the expectation. Obviously, that failed. Okay, although when you look at Deep Blue, I was working at IBM at that time, when it beats Kasparov as a warrior in chess. Okay, that was in the past. Say, if we can beat human in chess, humans are computers more intelligent than machine, and we did that, but we couldn't scale it into other aspects of understanding. So anyway, to cut the long story short, that's one rung in this ladder. The arrow goes back to say, now we failed. This idea of embodying human understanding, it didn't really scale as much as we expect. So let's actually go back to the drawing board and find a different way. And actually, that's not exactly historically, like we didn't have any step by step like this. It's much more toing and froing. And we took inspiration of the human's brain made of neurons, and let's actually build now artificial neural networks. And that's actually gave us deep learning, which is with a lot of computer vision, etc., and large language models. So that's really, we are now at this level. Okay. Now what actually, and this is the juncture I'm going to be talking about it, is that we looked at this large language models. It's behaving so impressively, but generating one word at a time. What's going on? Many people cannot comprehend that. Like, how this machine producing one word at a time, and it's coherently, comprehensively answering me questions, writing code, generating very, very impressive essays, whatever. So we try now to understand how this really will happen and how it will feed us into understanding our human intelligence and how we take that collectively and build the next generation of intelligence. And so this is a part I'm going to expand on to say what we learn from large language models and actually how can we build the next generation. So now this is the second point. I'll be talking about it, which is the impressive performance of large language models and its impact in cognitive science. So I'll be sharing you some of, it's not really very, I would say, recent, but it's not recent. This thing is actually, for the last 20 years, we have been revising how we think. However, in folk psychology and the way we think about our brain, that's really hasn't been affected by this cognitive revolution. So some of what I'm going to say in this slide and next slide may be non-intuitive. Okay? But I'm telling you that I will hopefully support that with evidence. But it's really sort of, it can be unsettling for people to think this way. So there's so many development in cognitive science. With this short time, I'm not able to expand in everything. So I've selected one aspect of that, which with this book, fantastic book, I really highly recommend it. It's very readable, very accessible, but it's actually sort of embodied this set of theories, because it's not a single theory, it's a number of hypotheses. Nick Chater actually, this book was published 2017, before large language model. So it would be very interesting to take its effect. So it predicted certain things beforehand. And what actually, what's the flat mind hypothesis means? Flat mind is really more, the term is, it may not be the most accurate, really be shallow mind. Okay, it says that the brain doesn't have the depth. Okay, and actually, at one level, this is very easy to grasp, because we have actually been sold, and many people understand what's the fast thinking in Thinking Fast and Slow by Dan Kahneman. Okay, he said actually 90% of the time we are not thinking. We're not thinking. Calculating, making decisions. We're acting in real life very, very quickly, unconsciously. Okay, so we have accepted that. We accepted also, maybe sometimes jokingly, to say that the humans act first, explain later. But really, this is actually, if any of us reflect, you'll find actually we do that. There's a famous saying by E.M. Forster, who's a writer, the author of Passage to India, to say, how do I know what I think until I see what I say? I'll let it be thinking.
Can you repeat that?
How do I know what I think until I see what I say? Okay. So in many cases, we surprise ourselves when what we say. When we say it, and you say, oh, this is true, but I never knew that before I said it. The other very fun sort of way of, I call it thinking by writing. And actually, I'm not sure if many of you professionals here, you write. When you write, you find actually you clarify your mind. When you sit there in your lounge or wherever having coffee and thinking looks very, very different. And when you start writing, it looks very different, or you find that you didn't have a clear idea, or you find you have an epiphany. All of a sudden, you didn't actually think about it. So anyway, I'm here in a cognitive realm, so bear with me on this aspect to absorb it. The next level of the flat mind hypothesis is more than that. So this is, you take this first level, and some of you I've seen nodding, some of them may not, baffled. The next level of that, the mind flat as a part of this cognitive science, is that most of what the brain does is generative. It's improvising. It's acting on the spot, okay? And one of the things which is maybe you can actually test it for yourself. So our vision, you can actually look here, you can see, unless you're color blind, you can see this room in full color, full clarity, everywhere. Correct? Everyone can see that? Now, if you do an experiment for me, don't do it now, do it when you get home, get somebody maybe to help you. What you do is just put your thumb in the front of your eyes and fix your eye on it, okay? And get a piece of paper, maybe a newspaper clipping, okay, which has not necessarily very small font, but small font, relatively small font writing, and take this piece, put it on your side while you're staring at your thumb. Move it very, very slowly. Okay? And find when you'll be able to read it. Many people surprise so much because you can only read it when it's dead center in your front of you. Okay, if this actually experiment, anyone can do it, and it's not really like talent. You say, oh no, I can see it, because the anatomy of the eye, okay, has the cones which sees color, which sees in clarities, only within few degrees in the front of us. And through eye darting, we'll be able to, the brain generate all this. So the idea is that the brain generates our vision, our perception. It's creating many, many other things, including, and this is the part which is unsettle people when I say it, including our beliefs and desires and hopes and plans. All the things, we have the illusion that they are in a data bank, which you say, oh, what's your values? Of course, I have a very, very clear idea what's the value. Your value is different than my values. Your values are not stored in your brain, okay, in a structure where you retrieve it. You create it on the fly. Every time you talk, you're creating it. And when you're creating it, obviously you're not creating it out of the blue. You're creating it using a consistent way with what you behaved in the past and what you experienced, etc. So that's why it appears very coherent. So as I said, this is unsettling. So what this has to do with artificial intelligence? We observed that the machine, with the large language machine, which is being created completely independent of all these findings, it creates one word at a time. It doesn't have any explicit storage of data. Every generation of ChatGPT is unique. It's not stored anywhere in its inside. So, okay, to cut the long story short, the finding and the limitation, the hallucination of the large language models, all of us here have a huge bias, cognitive bias. They actually last count in Scalpedia, over 100 cognitive biases. So is that hallucination or not? And this is actually, so observing the large language model is supporting many of these emerging new theories, okay? And it's giving us a clue that our brain works in this generative way, and this generative way is a very, very effective way to create an intelligent behavior. So there will be questions, I'm sure. Some of you maybe, I don't know how you taking this. So now, my friend Eugene here, the questions afterwards.
Yes, questions afterwards. It just very quickly, sorry. For those of us who are laymen, where do you define cognitive science? Just so I understand what you mean by that.
What, sorry, what?
How do you define cognitive science? Like, what's the bounds of that?
Yeah, cognitive science. No, okay. Thank you very much. Maybe I said cognitive science. So if you can simply think psychology, you'll not be far away. Okay, cognitive science and this cognitive psychology science is really a scientific side of psychology. Psychology, like Freud, said they're getting theories. In cognitive science, we say we have to find correlates, actually measuring things in the brain, okay, to support any of our theories. So that's the difference between psychology and cognitive science. So, for this purpose, if you think of psychology, you'll not be far. How the brain works, that's cognitive science. Thank you. Actually, that's very good because maybe some people have similar questions. So I was actually going to say, so what? My friend Eugene here makes us honest. Whenever we present things, he say, so what? So some of the consequences, if this theory is correct, I think one, again, staying in the cognitive side and the psychology and human development, I'm very fond of how people can change their mind and change their mindset, because many of us are trained as an engineer or doctor, or maybe a scientist, etc. And we can actually work for years using this mindset, this way of solving problems, way of thinking around about our situation. But we can't change our mind. In the past, I've relied on what's called growth mindset. Within education, if you get students to believe that they can improve their performance, they do. Okay. Other thing is the brain plasticity. It shows that the brain can change itself. But this mind's flat and similar theories, it tells us that we can change our mindset much, much easier because there's nothing to unlearn. It's only practice. By practice, you're adding new experience, and when you improvise next time, you can improvise including this new experience, okay? But the ramification of that is that the only way to change your mind is that by practice. So all this education, 4 years in university may not be necessary, because only by working, by doing things, that you can actually create this practice. The second one is the importance of teachers, mentors, and coaches, because this practice has to be made concrete for somebody to actually exercise it. The other ramification in psychology and philosophy is that our conception of self and consciousness is will be revisited now. Now, I should really add very quickly for people who are alarmed, that doesn't, we are not saying that the human brain is a large language model or deep learning. It's actually what we say is this generative nature is a very essential part of human brain. A huge part of what we do is generative and generated on the fly. This one actually is one of the reference, Anil Seth. He's one of the most prominent neuroscientists. He called it controlled hallucination. The brain actually creates our world calibrated by our experience, not the other way around. Not that we absorb the experience of the world. Okay, the brain is actually projecting that and then correcting this based on the experience. So this is the cognitive science. Let's actually hopefully now move into the how all this have affected us to build new intelligent machines. And they actually, one thing about the human's machines, human's brain, is that we know that the generative nature is a very, very important part of it, essential part of it, but it's not the only one. And there's not any single generative mechanism in the brain. There are hundreds of them, hundreds. They're all generated parallelly, and that's the brain power. Okay, it's not a serial machine. So many things can happen at the same time, and you're conscious of only one. Have one thread you're conscious of, and there's hundreds of parallel things happening in the background. So how can we create the next model? So this is not, I'm saying the future is a hybrid collaboration, but that's really happening already now. I'm very fond of Andrew Ng. He's a veteran of AI. And this guy is old. He's been around for a long time. But he's still so active. And he's leading this new way of multi-agent artificial intelligence. It's extremely promising. And if anyone have access to a large language model, you can actually do these experiments. He has a number of free courses. The idea is that he can actually do it right now. Like anyone using large language model, ChatGPT or Google Gemini or whatever, he can actually do that. How you do that? Most of the time, people use this chat systems is that they send a question, they get the answer. I said, oh, this answer is good, this is bad. And then they go do something else. And the whole idea of this agentic, which is agents-based development pattern, is that the towing and the throwing is really what matters. So if you have a colleague, okay, maybe expert, maybe your peers, do you go and ask them a question and they give you an answer and you walk away? No, you debate it. You say, no, maybe I think it's slightly different. So what do you think of that? If you author a paper with an editor, you do towing and throwing. And if you can do that with large language models, you can actually improve the performance greatly. And this is the whole idea. But obviously what actually Andrew Ng is creating architecture with this happen automatically. So you have two chatbots or more working together to debate, okay, the question you sending. And the answer is a collective merge of that. And that's the performance. And Andrew, if you look at there's a link at the end, it exceeds a single machine by so far. And that's the whole, so what actually we're saying, the future of artificial intelligence will be made of this combination of agents. In many cases can be homogeneous, that you have two chat GPT working together. And in other cases, it's heterogeneous. It's different chatbots trained on different data working together to create the output. And as I said, that's already not just happening in the future, this is happening already now. This idea is very old. Many people have this idea of multi-agent, but they didn't know how to connect it. And now, for the first time, we found the answer was staring at us in our face, but we didn't use it, is the natural language. Because many people in the past created how you connect these intelligent machines together. They found very complex protocol. Natural language, although we know natural language is vague, verbose, and ambiguous, but it's the best we have. It is the best to have as a connection between humans' intelligence and machine intelligence, as with ChatGPT, etc. It works so well. People are like never actually seen anyone using this. Maybe you'll find in this room, maybe in the discussion, no one is not impressed. People are impressed, and I'll get into the practical aspect of that later on. But the natural language is we found an interface. That solved a huge problem, and now Microsoft, Google, etc., creating this framework to create not just 2 agents, 3 agents connected to hundreds working together on the same problem. And that's so the future is not happening next year, it's happening already, because we have already large language models. All what we have to do, connect them, make them specialized, and connect hundreds. We can replicate them for free. It's really, so if you are impressed with what we have so far, hold on your seat, because it's going to get faster. Because the technology to do that is imminent. We have it. So the future for people who are computer scientists here, they don't have to be a large language model. They can be many other things. And there's so many people researching in many other type of reasoning, like reasoning by analogy, which is metaphorical, the way we human people think, Bayesian inference. There are so many new ways to how we think besides this the rational way. In addition to embedded intelligence, meaning robots. So robots now using large language models to advance, and they've been advancing very, very fast. Okay, the next level here, again, is a practical going forward to say that the future is hybrid. It's a hybrid collaboration between humans and machines. And as I said, now in my organization, one of my tasks is how to promote the use of this generative AI in a way that actually deliver actual value. There's a lot of architectural work in this case. So the part of this discussion has about cognitive science and psychology and the philosophy, but to me, it's an integral part. This understanding is what will allow us to get to the next step. Okay, not only computer science. In computer science, in conjunction with our understanding of our brain, that's what will get us to the next level. That I know some people are very scared, worried about. I'll be interested to see if within this forum, maybe not in this forum, but many people very worried about their job. Okay? But not just worried, they have some maybe an anxiety that they feel if they rely on this large language model, this intelligent machine, it diminishes their value. Or we'll say, what's my value? So we need really to approach that with a curiosity and open mind. History has shown us that with new technology creates new opportunities, only for the people who are using this new technology. If you shun the technology, like that, history at least would be this times different. But if we look at the history of every technology have been introduced so far, it created huge amount of technology, opportunities for people with new jobs, etc., but only for people embracing this technology. So if somebody doesn't, I think the saying in one of the LinkedIn or one of the magazines said, AI will replace jobs of people who don't use generative AI. So think of that and protect your job. The other part, which is really, that's at a societal level, some people would be very, very disturbed by that. 6 months ago, Sony awarded photography competition, the first prize. Okay, the winner refused to take the prize. He said, "Oh, I used generative AI to create it." And I said, and now the Brisbane, 3 months ago, the Brisbane art competition have opened for entries with generative AI. If art can be created mechanically, what is the value of art? Why do I pay $100,000 millions of dollars for Picasso's paintings. This is, I don't have the answer for that. I have a hobby as painting. I work with artists, and many artists are very alarmed with that, more than professionals, because they can see that what this machine can create is just like within. By the way, the picture I have in this presentation I generated with ChatGPT, but through dozens of trials to get something exactly, because I like to paint, and I said I can paint that, a logo or something. That so what we need really as a society, as a culture, we need to figure out what does it mean. So let's recap. There are 3 points. I know, sorry, I over-elaborate them. First one, decoding intelligence has been iterative bidirectional interchange between cognitive science and artificial intelligence. The latest development in particular have emphasized this point and has informed many theories, how we think. And many people who are hanging on consciousness as a hard problem, etc. Is a shock in this area of how we understand our brain. What are we? Do we have a free will, etc.? All this informed by new development. Finally, the future is hybrid collaboration at the machine level, at work level, and at the society level. So the last slide I have here, I'll let you give me a question, is a conclusion. This large language model is a very significant, okay, very important. We have to, even if you're not working in AI, you're affected, and you have to start to think how to use it. The flat mind gives us a huge freedom to change our mind. We are not created as a certain person. Psychological tests, they're completely meaningless. Okay, you can be anything tomorrow. A colleague of mine just in LinkedIn this morning said that he's been working for, I think, maybe 10, 12 years, and she had 15 roles, and she's listed all of them. And I said, this is the future. The future, we're not going to study for 5 years, okay? Go to a job and then retire. That will not happen. Okay, so we need really to embrace this changing mindset. We have to deal with this new situation in a very flexible way. So my call for action is that embrace adaptability and collaboration. I invite you to sample some of what I presenting here as references to get a flavor of that. Challenge fear and stigma, and use open mind to deal with this situation. And then there's a lot of for technical people here, there's a lot of work is there to allow it to leverage all these new capabilities. Thank you very much.
Last question. Hang on. Let's turn this microphone on. There you go.
Hi. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for such an amazing speech that you made, trying to combine everything in very short lecture. Thank you. It was a pleasure. My question refers to the first part of the lecture where you told that ChatGPT or Gen AI, it actually does not store any information from your previous requests, so to say. But on what is based that assumption? Because in my practice, whenever I try to communicate with the Gen AI, and I specifically am dedicated to understand whether it actually stores information it provided to me in earlier answers, everything indicates that it does remember the answers, and moreover, it actually within the time in different charts, it still ties its responses toward earlier answers and your requests.
Thank you. And this is a very important point. I get this question almost from people in my organization ask me this question. So we need to differentiate two things. One is that what we call a session. When you talk, you say, I'm going to start now. This is the first time you use it, for example. So you ask it questions. Okay? And then it gives you answer and you say, could you do something else? All this in one session. Okay? And all the, that gives us a more romantic. So this context is maintained while you're talking to them. But then if you leave it and then come back after a week or something to start a new discussion is a very different discussion. Now, many of these systems also allow you to say, here is my persona. So you put something, which is that every conversation, make sure you know my profession, you know, I want things in this style, etc. So definitely ChatGPT and all others don't store your information, don't store any information, but they store it only within a session. Within a session means a number of discussions related to each other. So, but this is very important because if it's really going to store this information, where is it going to store it? And what about your privacy, etc.? So that's I get this question from a privacy point of view. But this is very important, is that every new discussion, because ChatGPT is talking to millions, billions now, okay? If it's going to store all the things and use that all the time, it will not have enough memory to store all the things. So it doesn't store it, it answers every question at the, from scratch, but if you have a series of questions, they all maintain together.
Sorry, that assumption, is it from your practice or from learning the like documents?
It's the architecture. It's the architecture. It doesn't have anything to do, like I know that applies to Google Gemini, to Claude, to all of them, all the new ones will have to work this way because otherwise, where are you going to store all this information? So every session is separate, okay? But you can have a series of questions related. And the questions, the answers is maintained during this. So it makes sense going on back and forth. But then you could start a new one completely unrelated. Well,
we're going to go down.
Yeah. I'll go one here.
Yeah. Hi. Thanks, Ahmed. Great presentation. I'll be interested to know your views on what I'm calling HI versus AI, human intelligence versus AI,
yeah.
And the agreed that it's going to be a collaborative approach. As of today, right now, if you're designing a system, what do you think that HI excels at versus AI, and where do you think in 3 years' time where that be? I know 3 years is a long time.
Okay.
But maybe even just today.
Yeah, I think I can definitely, this is part of my job. I answer this question. And like to me, anyone is not using any of the versions. So I'm not going to vote to tell you ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude. There are so many of them now. And I use them all because I have to know the difference between them. If anyone is not using it in their job, I'm not talking about to tell me the latest joke or create a poem. Use it for, if you're not using it for your job, okay? As they say in poker, you're leaving money on the table, okay? So now, what you can use it for, it depends on what's your job. So I work, one of the practice we have is legal advice, and they can do 80% of the paralegal work using specialized legal chatbot. So it can create that. So the answer to you is that whatever your job, is part of your job is to find way to automate your job or to complement your job with ChatGPT. From people who developer coders, okay, people who are consultant or architects, for each one of this, you should be able never start from scratch. you create a job advertising. Just you go and say, give me a job description. And then take that and don't take it as a final answer, but modify it. So to me, the sky is the limit. Now, in 3 years' time, I can't really predict that. Sorry. We'll have to take it one month at a time. Not even 1 year, 1 month at a time.
Can I train my own ChatGPT, like my personal assistant, if it doesn't store anything? Like, for example, if I want to write an essay, and I tell the ChatGPT in the first time, and the second time I'll just tell ChatGPT to write an essay, and I say like just in my mind, like whatever my tone or what etc. Since it doesn't store anything, does it still can remember like assistant of a person?
Yeah, as I said, now it depends on what tool you're using. Both ChatGPT, Gemini for Google, Claude, allow you to create a profile. For this profile, you can actually put text of maybe a few pages, even for information, to say what's your job, what your answer always you want to be, the spelling in British spelling, you want to be the style direct, you want it to be give you references. So you can put this as a profile. Every time you ask this question, take this profile and put it as a part of your question.
So they can memorize.
Yeah. So it only uses that because I said for privacy, it's very dangerous to say, it remembers everything about me. So it's really very dangerous. Okay. So it doesn't unless you instruct it in a profile. So you put things in the profile, and when you ask it questions, it put this profile as a part of the question. You say, answer this question for Phoebe, okay? Which is she'd like the answer to be this way. So it repeats that.
So the profile is privacy purpose.
Yeah.
And ChatGPT is not like it doesn't store it.
Yeah. The profile is permanent. You can use it to create that persona, so you don't have to repeat things every time.
I wanted to ask you to elaborate further on Andrew Ng's finding that multi-agent architectures outperform single agents. Is it because the natural language interface between models allows the human to stay in the loop and further refine the objectives of each agent, or why does it outperform just an agent that is iterating on its own performance and self-directing?
Thank you. So you can actually think of that as a number of ways. Is a friend of mine actually, I asked him to look at my articles, which I have here, and he used ChatGPT. I'll get to your answer. And what he did, he said, could you look at this, my friend's paper, and criticize it? Tell me where's the gaps? Okay. And then it says, could you tell me what is the conclusion? Could you summarize it in this level? And then he had a paper he authored in the uni a couple of years ago. He said, put this paper, put Ahmed's paper, okay, compare them, and you see where they agree, where they disagree. So this type of going back and forth, okay, is really what Andrew Ng is at. So one of the patterns, he called it reflection. So it says, you ask questions, okay, and then like now imagine you and just one ChatGPT. So you get the answer, okay, you may be modified, and you send it back to say, tell me what's wrong, how can I improve? Okay? And then you take it back and then change it again, and you say, where's the gap? But instead of human to human, use two ChatGPT to do that. So you could one to create the answer, and the second one to say, criticize this answer to improve it. And then back and forth. Okay? So that's like at face value, you say, well, it's very simple. It is very simple, but it does work. Okay? The other one is that maybe you if you remember the GAN, the Generative Adversary Network. In the past, they created this when they have a computer vision, and you create two computer visions. One is to generate a picture, and the other one to discriminate. And the idea is to find ways, okay, to find how you, like the same as AlphaGo, when you get the AlphaGo playing with itself Go to learn. The same here, you get two machines working together as adversaries. They fighting each other. One trying to solve a problem, another one creating the problem for this solve. So the problem gets harder and harder and harder. So this is the patterns he's talking about. Creating these patterns, you could create that's much more elaborate, where you have an arbitrator and two machines working together, and one summarize that, and it gives you the answer. And you could choreograph that as well.
And do the agents, is it required that the agents have separate objectives, or can they competing?
Well, they said these are, one part of it is homogeneous. They could be all the same, okay? But they have different objectives because you have a different prompt. You say, I have this essay, give me a critique of it. Or here's an essay, okay, and supported and expanded. So it depends, the prompts you give it is its goal. And you create that in an adversary way or a collaborative way. It's like work together to come up with a better answer. So it's a fascinating, like you get, like working in a team. You kind of get the team to work together.
I'm just, I'm having trouble comprehending the logic of what you said earlier.
Yeah.
If we interact with an AI in our jobs and we interact with it more and more, and AI can do our jobs, why would anyone keep us in our jobs? I just can't follow the logic.
Yeah, but yeah, it cannot take your job.
How do you know that?
Okay, how do you know that? Okay, is that it depends on your job.
No, it doesn't really. It doesn't really, because all jobs are surmountable. So in this particular instance, how is it logical that if a greedy agent, a human that is running a company, can run the company on zero cost, why would they employ humans?
Yeah, okay. And so it's two different questions, okay? One is that for my job, how do I leverage that? And the point is really, like, imagine I want to give, you have to use a concrete example. So I'll give you an example, say a developer. Okay? So a developer, because the developer is really very clear, the job is to create code. Okay? And what actually happened is that if they use the machine, it creates the code for them. But the code is not 100%. This code cannot, you can actually give it with this different agent, you can actually ask to test it. It's really very interesting. But what actually happens, this developer productivity would be much higher, would be solving bigger problems. Okay, so it's delivering much bigger value
until they become dispensable. When AI surmounts human ability, actuaries, statisticians, teachers, lawyers, machine factory workers, why on earth would anyone keep humans?
Because they, I've heard actually company, I will not mention names, their HR, all interaction with HR is completely done by a chatbot. All interactions, okay? Not all the job, but all interaction, which is really large percentage of HR is responding to queries, okay, as well as a marketing. But the point is really, you need to look at that at the societal level. Okay? So the point is this company what will happen for this company here? We're going to fire a few people and hire others to do higher level functions. So the people, okay, the people and the younger people here will take the next level. So in the past, when we did the manufacturing, we solved the manufacturing. We didn't need the labor. Okay? But what we needed engineers. The engineers didn't exist before that.
No, but we're assuming an apex here. We're assuming that as we get more intelligent, we will need, but AI will completely catch up and overtake. And its ultimate goal is what? How is it going? What is it going to do to what is it going to? What's its ultimate goal?
However intelligent, and this discussion, obviously, I live in it every day. I disagree with that. I disagree. This idea is that intelligence of these machines, okay, it is going to go higher and higher, and then you subscribe a purpose for it. Say, what's its purpose? It doesn't have a purpose. It's a tool.
Is it sentient yet?
No, it's not sentient.
It's not sentient yet.
No.
Okay, but it will be.
Skynet. Skynet.
Well, I mean,
not going to answer anything beyond next month. Difficult questions.
So my question actually relates quite similarly to that. Actually, is the training data, right? Well, all these large language models have all been trained on a certain amount of data, right? Do you need to put a break on saying that you can't train pre-LLM era and say any of the training data can't actually be already generated by an LLM? So how do you sort of, is there a way of they're defining intelligence or keeping it all pre-LLM time, or do you,
I think, but this is maybe, it depends really what the intention of your question. Part of it is like how a large language model will be trained in the future. Where is it new data?
Yeah, that's it, right? There's a finite limit to pre-LLM.
Yeah, right? and this is really a multi-agent idea. Is that this is a technical point. Is that what we needed this large language model is, think about it as very simple, just an interface. It's not the guts of intelligence. It's just the interface. But interface, because if you have an interface which is the answer sort of thing is in a standard way, humans are, like, I created chatbots for the last 20 years, and they really so fragile and stupid. So you need the whole language just to communicate with a human. Even a customer support center or whatever, you need the whole language. So now we have the interface. Okay. Now, if we want really the intelligence to build rockets to go to the moon, we need, that's the engineering problem, which we can train deep language, deep machine learning models to do that. We needed to do biological protein folding. We have that. All what we have with the large language model, which has all this intelligence, is an interface. You can specify, here's what to do. It has some reasoning enough to figure out that, and then it will translate it into another agent that's specialized to solve this problem. Society still will never run out of problems. Will not run out of problems. We'll be still painting, writing poems, writing novels. Okay. Well, I'm really, in one hand, I'm giving you a prediction because I think I lived with AI all my life, and I've seen that. I've said 70 years ago, and I'm happy really to send a link. Very credible people with suit and tie and everything, and they're standing there really with very straight face, very earnest, saying that within 3 years we're going to exceed human intelligence. That's 70 years ago. Yeah. Now I can see the same panic. No panic. But you have to use the technology. If you're not using the technology, it will destroy anyone not using it. Sorry for my enthusiasm.
No problem. And my question, hi, I'm Susan Louis. Thank you very much for great discussion. My question relates to the ability of AI to be creative. I was listening to a podcast where we had, I think, a couple of musicians who were absolutely slamming this piece of AI generated music that it's a computer composed, and they said an AI will never be intelligent. It will never have the sort of human connection, if you like, that a piece of art or a wonderful piece of music can give to us.
Yeah.
Just wondering what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, creativity has many levels. It's one of the inspiration, and it goes to, is this computer sentient? Okay. Why we appreciate art? We appreciate art mainly because it's difficult to create, okay, and it embodied some not necessarily suffering, or like most of the artists tend to suffer, is that experience, that we appreciate. And AI will not do that. But the mechanics, all mechanics, look at this picture. This picture wasn't created by itself. If you give whatever, that's Mid-Journey or whatever. Mid-Journey sitting there, not sitting, obviously, but it's not doing anything. Where is that? Where does the flame of inspiration come from? Will come from humans. And for a long, long time, it will come from human, because human, by our embodiment, by being a social animal, we interact, we're creating the things until we replicate that. And in this replication, it will be just another biological entity. Okay, it may be more super intelligent, take over, but that's just, unless you create that structure, that culture, society of minds, AI will still be a tool, or for a long, long time. It's a very powerful tool, but it's still a tool. So I'm using it. I use it in Photoshop, etc., to generate art. I'm not very happy with it. I still paint my hand because that's like, as a human, that's satisfying to me. So art, to me, get to answer your question. The creative aspect is two parts. One is creating the mechanics of the art, okay? The shades, the lights, where it happened in the case of this photography. In the case of music, I've seen people, they compose songs to me. It sounds very good, okay? But it's not Chopin or it's not Rimsky-Korsakov, or the Beatles or whatever. So this is a human culture. So the certain parts of creativity will never be done by AI for the foreseeable future.
Sorry, just a quick one. So can you train the machine to say, create a piece for me in the style of Chopin and Liszt?
Yeah.
Okay, it's a combination of the two. It could sound beautiful.
But it's derivative. It's a derivative. It's not a new Chopin piece. It's built based on Chopin's composition so far. Okay? And when you hear it, it's something in you is not satisfied. Okay? So, but it's really, from a technical point of view, it's a marvelous. So how we use it? AI is a tool. Use it as for your purpose. If you're an artist, you can use it to create art. Okay? But the AI by itself will not create art. It creates artifacts.
I do text to video, and I'm blown away by what it can do and what it can't do.
Yeah.
Hallucinations seem to be a part of the creative process almost.
Yeah.
One of the particular things which fails every single time. If I say, I want a fellow driving a car, the model of the car, all that, it'll do that to a quite a good extent. If I ever say, and on the sign say this, every single time, and in quotes, I put the name of that I want on the sign, it is never correct.
Yeah.
How do you explain these? And another issue why I asked, I had a podcast about loneliness.
Yeah.
And I asked it to give me 10 articles written by 10 different journalists in Australia, and to give me the URL of the article.
Yeah.
It was all bullshit.
yeah. But this is the point. Is really like the way I think about it is that when I advise people, department to do that, is that you have to think as a team. Okay? So if you hire a junior person, okay, and this junior person sometimes answers the question wrong, you fire them. Yeah.
You ask for Coke and they get Pepsi, they get fired.
Out. Okay. So the idea is that it depends on your approach. The idea is to cultivate that, okay, and find where is the gaps in that knowledge. The two set of answers. One is that you have to figure out, you have a tool, okay? You have a tool, I don't know, like maybe it's not just a hammer, but you could have a tool which doesn't do everything you want. Okay? Find the things which it does very well, and find other way to maybe use a different tools, or to get this tool to do what you want. Prompt engineering, well, actually, I think is very, very simple. That is a lot of as I said, to create the picture I had here, I had a lot of, and I didn't know like which piece of information it will change its behavior to create it exactly in my style. So I had really a lot of trial and error. So my answer, and I do have a lot of trial and error to get what I want. If I want something particular, otherwise I take it and I said, I can do it. I got the change. But to me, is using ChatGPT and equivalent is indispensable.
In a creative area, I find it good. It's like you're working with someone who's tripping.
Yeah.
And they give you this stuff that's so different. Like I did one for a retirement village.
Yeah.
One that came out with this little old lady walking across the pond. I thought, oh, I'll put that in.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's a benefit, but I still think that, say for YouTube, for example, the amount of content will just explode.
Yeah.
And those people that are generating either with or without AI, just in a flood.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sheer content will be so much. People can only consume so much.
And this actually, as I said, as a work practice, as an organization, as a society, we have a lot of problems creating with this new technology. We have just to deal with it. It's not to say this is a problem, stop everything and freeze. No one do AI. No, I think it's the attitude is that we don't know what the answer for it. Let's figure it out, and that's part of it's trial and error. Part of it's collectively working together.
I have a question here. All right. So when you look at this picture, how to different a human being and AI, right? So can you give you any thinking or histories of this picture behind it, right? Come back to your personal journal, I think, to answer this question, because human beings have the experience and have the passions and emotions in the past, have your personal journal that's explained this, right? But from AI created all this artificial things, it's the machine made it. Don't have any experience for the human beings,
no,
right?
This is created with a huge collaboration. We don't know how long this probably is artist, who's a real artist, photographer, an artist, is spent, we don't know how much time. I suspect this print is spend more time creating this than creating other photos, which is don't use a generative AI. Okay, so this is the point. Is really this picture is not created by a machine. It's created by a collaboration between an artist and the machine. So the artist's heart in it, and it's beautiful. I really think it's beautiful photograph. Anyway.
Just those two.
Sorry. Yeah.
My name is Shubham. I have a
That's all right.
question. I gather the information based on 3 people question. So my question is more related to network and cybersecurity by using the AI. As you know,
yeah,
a lot of MNCs company use chat box where you put your information and it requires you to put your basic name or last name or any reference number, and it will spit out all the information related to your profile.
Yeah.
And these days, a lot of MNCs companies are using those tools, and they store the data based on their AI tool, right? Have you tried to fetch that AI session between a user using the AI tool to fetch the detail instead of calling the customer service? Is it possible to fetch the session? If it is, anyone try to fetch the session? If not, do you, since you work with AI so long, have you tried yourself like to fetch the session?
That doesn't have to do anything with whether you use an AI or not. It just if a company have a person dealing with the customer interactively, either through online or through the phone, etc., and they intercept that. Okay, so it depends on the architect who designed the system, where they store the information, whether it's encrypted, whether it's partitioned, so etc. So whether you use AI is completely irrelevant in this. Like if the AI is intermediate, it's just that once the information is created, it is created with a privacy labels, and it should be stored accordingly. And you cannot fetch. So you can't.
So we can't fetch the AI session.
No, you can't.
It's a good example that actually is different from what you say.
But you see, actually, like, I think it's the tangent. Like by going and say, because the AI in it, okay, there's so many other pieces of technology there, okay, which as complex as this AI. Okay? They don't do AI type things, but they are complex, okay, and they're part of that. So the point is because something is complex, you don't just say I don't trust it. Okay? You have to hire people like myself, a specialist, okay, who understand that, and you say, from an architecture point of view, this is how it's designed. So I have to answer this question for our legal team. Okay? I'm asking the same question, and they say these people are extremely professional, but because it's something new, they feel, well, how do I trust it? It's exactly the same as any other piece of software being created in the past. Nothing overwhelming, apart from its input and output is language.
But they can change something at the core of the system without you as a user knowing about these changes.
Yeah, okay. But this happened to any company you interface with. Any company you interface with, which has a computer, it gets your data, and there's a privacy terms and condition. If the company abuse that, you have no control on it, whether they use AI or not. They can take your data and sell it. And many companies do that. Or they hack
This is happening at an astronomical rate, though. It's not like it's in the past. Someone might find out something about you, store it. This is happening at a scale that's unimaginable.
Yes, but I'm
very quickly.
But I'm contending that it doesn't have anything to do with the AI. The technology in general moving very fast. People using the technology more, and that's the reason. It's not because of AI. And it is a very scary thing. That's why we need cyber security people to.
Last question.
Last question. It better be a good question. Pressure. Push it up.
Hello. Okay. Yeah. So before I ask my question, I actually want to make a comment of like why we need people and why I think it's a question of how people make an impact. It's not really about AI itself. Like myself, before I get a proper actuarial job, I used to make coffee in coffee shop. So I was a barista, and because people like me and I make really good coffee, so people come to me for coffee. Definitely, even by that time, that was very many years ago, we already have smart robots that can make good coffee and even create beautiful latte art. But people will come to me for coffee because that's me. That's how human makes an impact.
I love it. I think
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
So I actually have two questions. The first one is, I think it's perfectly because of your background. I really appreciate that. I had this question in my mind for long, but it's a little bit hard for people who don't have a cognitive science background to comprehend. I think currently the evolving AI thing, like everything generated and then like forgotten by the whole system because we don't store it. Can we say it's actually the subconsciousness of like a broader human beings, not just one individual? So it's actually cognitive, right? Can it be subconsciousness? So it's like people have something in mind and then it's there, but they don't think about it and they even don't realize that they remember it, but it makes an impact somehow. That's the first question. Second question is simple as a question, but I'm not sure whether there's an answer. Do we, as human beings, do we have the right to choose not to use AI?
Very, I say the last question, she had two questions and one comment. Thank you.
No, it's a good one.
Yeah, I think the comment is fantastic. Thank you very much, because that's why I really support my point that humans will have value for a very long time. Because the mechanics can be perfected, but the heart never can be replicated. But your question about definitely from a cognitive science point of view, we know that we are aware of one. I'll just maybe say 1%, say, of our unconscious mind. But really, 1% is a very exaggeration, much more. So our brain includes all our experience since we are children, infants, and we don't recall this first 2 years, although they're very formative years. So to get back to your point, yes, all this information is there. However, the human's memory is not like a computer memory. Not everything there stays forever. Thank God you forget. There are actually, if you don't forget, your brain will not function because you receive billions of pieces of information a second. Okay? And if you're storing all these things, your brain will not function. So what you do, you will find what is the salient point, what is the main, certain questions, for example, will be memorable. I'll remember it later on. Certain things in our childhood, we remember it. In a dream, 20, 30, 40 years after it happens, and we never really recall it. So absolutely, and that's what the richness of humans and artists is that all this thing makes it personal.
One thing we have to do, subconscious memory and conscious memory are two different things. Conscious memory uses perceptual digits. In other words, it controls the amount of information you're consciously processing so you don't collapse. You go into a supermarket, there are 5,000 lines. Yeah. You only see 2 or 3. Yeah. Every experience that you have since you were born is embedded in your mind and can be recalled under certain circumstances. Yeah. That's why a child, for the first 2 weeks, can't see its mother's face. Why? Because it's never seen a face before. So cognitive information processing and schematization of information is embedded forever from the first moment of perception of pain and pleasure and visual interaction. It's in there. It's not that you just may not be able to recall it, but it's in there. Under the process to recall. So it is stored, and the mind has an interest in storage. Yeah, it's a mess. So it's not that it can't, that it's not there. It is there. Yeah, it is there. Yeah, right.
Sorry, I just want to clarify. Yeah. I guess my question is more around the awareness of the this like AI
Yeah.
Subconsciousness means some kind of awareness that can be
So this area becomes psychiatry. how you really how we think about that. So your point, I agree with you. Everything is stored, but the brain also have capability to forget. Okay, consciously, or subconsciously. Okay. That's fine. Okay. So you're saying that I'm not sure if your second question is like, of course you have the right to do whatever you want. Okay? You are a free agent. Do whatever you want. Okay. But if you want to be competitive, okay, I'm saying that you should use all tools. You're using a pen and a paper. Do you do that? You use pen and paper? Technology. So you should use all the technology available to you.
We might leave that for discussion afterwards because.
Yeah. Ahmed, just a quick question. You're not actually going to take off right after.
No, I'm not going to.
Which is fantastic news. So, folks, we're going to cut the questions at the lectern here, but Ahmed's still around, and we've got plenty more time for networking. So, any questions you have, hopefully you can ask Ahmed, and you put your contact details up.
Thank you.
Everybody enjoyed that one. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Eugene, for your support. Without you, that would not be possible. It's really it's very good to have a forum like this.
You're very welcome. And I rather enjoyed the extended question time. As is custom, we close the event with announcements. So, in particular, anybody here with any jobs going in the data science or AI space, come up here and tell us what you got. And maybe you have announcements of any other kind. Maybe you're running an event. Maybe you've got a project. Maybe you're just looking for a mentor and you just want a bit of advice. This is the place to do it. And if not, just a reminder that next week we have our very first daytime event, which will be on AI ethics, a very popular topic. Be very interested to hear from you what we can do to make you more aware of upcoming Data Science Sydney events, because the old method of meetup sending emails obviously is not cutting it. For those of you who don't know, there is also a LinkedIn group, which is another way to hopefully be aware of upcoming events. But yeah, I'm thinking of starting a Twitter. Same as the meetup group. We just changed the name. Sydney.
What's the name?
Yeah, Sydney AI plus Data Science. So please join the LinkedIn group. Please join the upcoming Twitter group, which will appear. And please advise me on what else I can do to make sure you don't miss events. Thank you all for coming. Yeah.
Are you going? How do you know that? From my surname?